On behalf of the entire Covenant Baptist Church family, I, Pastor Dennis W. Wiley, and my wife, Pastor Christine Y. Wiley, welcome you to what we call the Miracle on South Capitol Street. We welcome you as we join this multiracial and multicultural group of District of Columbia clergy in expressing our unequivocal support for full marriage equality. As pastors of a church that has been on the cutting edge of prophetic and progressive ministry for 65 years, and as members of a clergy family that has faithfully served this church and this Ward 8 community for 40 years, we are honored to welcome you into this sacred space, to stand on this holy ground, and to be a part of this historic occasion as we lend ours to a growing chorus of voices favoring justice, freedom, and equality for all of God's children.
The Black church and the Black community have been characterized by some as being united in opposition against same-sex marriage. This could not be further from the truth. Black people are not monolithic. We are diverse just like all other human beings. And because Covenant Baptist Church is a beloved community with a long history of celebrating the richness of our diversity, we have gathered here today to affirm in the immortal words of the late Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
King also once said, "Cowardice asks the question, is it safe? Expediency asks the question, is it politic? And vanity comes along and asks the question, is it popular? But conscience asks the question, is it right?" Well, we stand here to demonstrate our support for marriage equality, not because we believe it is safe, politic, or popular, but because conscience tells us it is right. It is theologically right, because we are all created in the image of God. It is historically right, because those of us who have been oppressed ought to be the last ones to oppress anyone else. And it is morally right, because loving same-gender persons deserve the same rights, protections, and responsibilities as loving opposite-gender persons.
And for those who are offended by the comparison of gay rights with civil rights, we agree with Julian Bond, who once stated that people of color ought to be flattered that our movement has provided so much inspiration to others. Furthermore, we resonate with Congressman John Lewis, who once said, "I have fought too hard and too long against discrimination based on race and color, not to stand up against discrimination based on sexual orientation." In the spirit of Jesus Christ, Martin Luther King Jr., Coretta Scott King, and ironically, the Declaration of Independence, we believe that all of God's children, regardless of sexual orientation, are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Therefore, we support full marriage equality for the District of Columbia because the gospel of Jesus Christ is a gospel of love, not hate. A gospel of justice, not injustice. A gospel of inclusion, not exclusion. And a gospel of authenticity, not hypocrisy. And with so many heterosexual divorces broken families, broken homes, and broken lives. We firmly believe that if we are genuinely concerned about protecting the family and preserving the institution of marriage, rather than insisting that only marriage between a man and a woman is valid, we ought to insist instead that only marriage between two loving and committed adults is valid. As Howard Thurman, the great African-American preacher, theologian, mystic, and author once declared, "I have always wanted to be me without keeping you from being you." May God bless you.
Today, we are the DC Clergy United for Marriage Equality, and we have released a declaration of religious support for marriage equality. It reads, "We are District of Columbia clergy and religious leaders of many faiths, races, ethnicities, and sexual orientations. We represent religious institutions in every ward in the district. We have worked together over many years for peace and justice, and now join our voices again to speak a faithful word for freedom and equality. We declare that our faith calls us to affirm marriage equality for loving same-sex couples."
Our religious traditions and scriptures teach us that wherever love is present, God is also present. One of God's greatest gifts to us is our human capacity to love one another. The ability of two people to enter into relationships and form families of love and care is one expression of this gift. It is holy and good. We therefore affirm the right of loving same-gender couples to enter into such relationships on an equal basis with loving heterosexual couples.
We recognize that there are principal differences on this issue within the religious community. We affirm that the state should not require any religious group to officiate at or bless same-gender marriages. However, the state should not favor the convictions of one religious group over another by denying individuals their fundamental civil right to marry whom they love.
Recognizing that there is heartfelt disagreement on this issue, we call on all people of the District of Columbia to engage in a respectful and loving dialogue on marriage equality. As religious leaders, we commit ourselves to such a dialogue and encourage our colleagues on all sides of this issue to do the same.
God is love, and love is for everyone.
In this spirit, we raise our voices in the struggle for the right and freedom to marry. And I'd just like to announce that at the close of business yesterday, we had a total of 136 clergy who have signed this declaration. Since then, we have had about a dozen more clergy who have expressed a desire to sign, including the Reverend Dr. Michael Eric Dyson, Professor of Sociology at the Georgetown University. And we anticipate that by the end of today, we will break 150 signees. Thank you.